My 28-year-old wife stabbed me in the back, so I drove her insane and meticulously ruined her life. My wife had no idea I knew about her ongoing affair. So the first thing I did was come up with a plan that would make her life a living hell. Simply confronting her and getting a divorce was too easy. My first step was to gather evidence of the affair, which I did using an app that allowed me to spy on her text messages. I spied on her messages every night, taking screenshots of every conversation between her and her lover. They spoke as if they were in a full-fledged relationship, with romantic and affectionate things and provocative photos, the whole package. At that point, I moved to the phase of making her life a nightmare. I started acting extremely cold toward her, which made her paranoid. She kept asking if everything was okay, but I ignored her. She tried to talk to me and get me to open up, but I avoided her. I could see that this was affecting her mentally, but I was just getting started. I also began doing unusual things. I started going out at odd hours and coming home late from work. I was on my phone much more than usual, and when she asked what I was doing, I would simply say, stuff, and put my phone away. I also changed my login information for everything so she couldn't access any of my accounts. At that time, I informed my best friend, my older sister, and two of my closest friends, Nina and Name, about my plan. Note Nina because she plays a role later. A month of acting cold toward my wife was all it took for her to completely lose her mind. She began texting and calling me much more frequently, asking if I would be home, when I would arrive, trying to start things in the bedroom, and asking if I was okay every day. I could see that the seed planted in her mind the previous month was starting to sprout, especially in her communication with her lover, Dave. She was venting to him about her doubts and confusion, and I was watching this thanks to the app. She suggested to Dave that they might need to stop meeting at our house because she had no idea if I might show up suddenly. Dave asked in that specific communication if she was worried that I might be cheating on her. I can't even begin to describe the level of joy and laughter I felt reading that conversation. My unfaithful wife discussing with her lover whether she was mad because her husband might be cheating. It was usually me at home playing video games and quickly advancing. 4 long months of keeping my mouth shut, gathering evidence, and driving my wife crazy with my cold and distant behavior had almost driven her to the brink of psychosis, and I was enjoying it. I had been in my fake affair for 5 months now, and it had been 5 months since I had last touched her. No hugs, no kisses, no initiating intimacy. Not that I needed it, but she was sleeping with Dave, just at his place or in motels. Then one ordinary day, everything exploded. She called me at work, begging me to come straight home because she had something important to tell me. I really thought she was going to confess her infidelity, but of course, she didn't. Instead, when I got home, she asked if I was unhappy with her, citing the fact that I had been spending too much time away from home, no longer showing affection, and that our bedroom life was completely dead. She said she was worried she was pushing me away, and then came the kicker: she asked if I was cheating on her. I couldn't lie. I fell to the floor, laughing hysterically. When I say hysterically, I mean manic laughter. On the surface, it seemed like I was laughing at the notion of cheating, but of course, I was really laughing at the sheer irony of what was happening before my eyes. I was crying, hitting the floor with laughter for a good 2 minutes before composing myself enough to respond. I sat down and looked her in the eyes for the first time in months, shaking my head but not giving her an answer. I got up, brushed myself off, kissed her on the head, and settled in for the night. I could hear her start to cry as I walked away, but I no longer cared. Later that night, while I was in my office, I decided that, given the brevity of what had happened, I wanted to see what she was telling him. So I opened the app, and indeed, they were texting in real time. She told Dave that she knew I was cheating on her, that she had asked me that night, and I literally laughed in her face. I fell to the floor and laughed for about 5 minutes. I didn't care how she felt. She didn't know how or why, but she had already lost me. This was karma. The smile on my face while reading that must have looked like the Cheshire Cat. She was falling apart. Dave tried to comfort her, telling her that if I cared enough, she wouldn't have had to turn to him for what I wasn't giving her. The tone of her responses indicated that she was now having doubts about him. Throughout this, I was also carrying out another part of my revenge plan. This part involved getting my financial affairs in order. You see, not long ago, I met with a family lawyer to start the divorce paperwork. With the mountain of evidence I had gathered up to that point, the overwhelming amount of proof I had accumulated. You can click on share and more to see if there is a part 2.